I'm not sure to what extent this calculia can affect the buying of wood, but just in case, I'll propose a reference guide. In big box stores, they sell wood in standardized sizes, what's called dimensional lumber. This is usually less than the labeled size. So 1x2 is smaller than 1 inch by 2 inches. Though if the label is in mm, it'll be the exact size. There are also what's called blanks. These are already sized correctly for projects like bowls, carving, etc. I hear you can get these for free or cheap. Though I don't do these sort of projects, so I wouldn't know. To roughly measure the thickness and width of dimensional lumber and blanks, I made a word-based ruler. These are just printouts with various common uses of a board of this thickness or width. One sheet is for thickness and one for width. So let me explain the ruler. This here is the reference edge. That's where I'll line the board up against. Standard sized boards are listed in thickness by width. So I'll line this up to the reference edge and the thickness sheet. And since the board ends in the 1 inch zone, that means the board is nominally 1 inch thick. It'll be useful for things like tool totes, some furniture parts, maybe spoons or spatulas. The width ends in the 2 inch zone, so it is nominally 2 inches. This ruler also sort of works with rough lumber, but I won't really go into detail with that because I don't have experience with rough lumber. Rough lumber comes in random widths and is the format sold in lumber yards as opposed to the standardized stuff from big box stores. And that's where this pink shaded area comes into play, although it should be gray, but my printer is busted. The thin line is the midpoint of the zone, and the shaded area is what I would consider to be acceptable for the listed use. The link to this printout is in the video description as well as a blank version. Just make sure that you set the printout to print it in actual size rather than scaling it. For sheet goods like MDF or plywood, USB plugs are a great reference. This is 1/2 inch thick plywood. The thickness is about the same as the depth and width of a USB Type A. But not the thickness of the USB. 1/2 inch plywood is good for furniture, whereas thicker sheets are for things you want to stand on or for some workbench and sawhorse designs. Thinner sheets are for things like boxes. This piece of MDF is 5/16 of an inch, which is smaller than the USB Type A, but it is reasonably close to the depth and width of a USB Type C as well as a micro USB. The most common width and length of plywood is 4 by 8 feet, so the width is a bit more than the distance from the floor to the bottom of my monitor, and the length is about the same as the height of an exterior door. We can mark these points on a measuring tape. By having a few consistent reference points, you can quickly determine the approximate size of a piece of wood, provided you have physical access. These objects would be power outlet, the nearest foot above a table, interior doors, and exterior doors. Power outlets are sort of close to 1 foot off the ground. I'll put a piece of tape at 1 foot so that I know where to write on the measuring tape. I'll mark this P for power outlet. With tables, I'll follow the tape up until I reach 3 feet. This is roughly where the bottom of my monitor is, so I'll write M for monitor. Interior doors are usually about 6 feet tall. This is smaller than the 8 feet of exterior doors. I'll tape the measuring tape to the door so that it doesn't get unhooked so easily while I'm marking it. I live in an apartment, so the exterior door is the building entrance downstairs. I don't think my neighbors would appreciate me setting up a tripod in front of it, so I'll skip this one. So now my measuring tape looks like this. And I can use it to get a rough idea of how big things are. And that concludes the video. If you have any thoughts on this, I would love to hear them. Thank you for watching. See ya!